Let's see if that profile holds true for Brian. First shot.
Not bad for a man who is less than 24 hours away from marriage. Brian Voss. And of course, there's so many family members, Voss and Goff family members. Oh, golly, I tell you, Voss is boss. Well, Scott Devers was boss in the last match, 244, 243. All even after one frame. The way it should be in a title match. Bowling for 47,000, 30 and 16.
It's all plus for Devers right now as he stuck by Richard Wolff in that semifinal. He defeated Voss 257, 217 in match play as he defeated the other three opponents who have gone by the wayside so far today. And I would have to still say Devers is the slight underdog. Had a great year in 1988, winning 94,000 on a tour. Hopes to regain that form.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
410 for Scott Devers.
Trouble.
Big.
410 split. What he has to do is get that ball over to the left-hand part of the 4-pin and try to slide it into the 10. It's a little bit easier shot for a left-hander because he's coming towards the pins. Now here's how he got it. Ball cutting right through the middle. The 410. Let's see how Devers handles it. Second frame championship match.
All out against the bridegroom.
Look at how close he comes to converting this split. The ball just slides by the 4-pin. All he had to do is nick it. He'd driven into the 10 and put some pressure on Voss, who would like to get out to a big early lead with a quick double.
So the 8-time champion was up at the line directing pin traffic to no avail, leaving the 1-2 on the right lane.
Well, he's asking it to keep coming. He knows he threw it wide, and when you throw a shot like that, you just must forget it. Voss is way too good to have that even play on his mind. He's a great player.
Brian Voss, second television appearance this year. He's fifth at Pinole in the ARC Open, and overall his 34th television appearance. Player of the Year in '88, set a money record broken last year by Mike Albee.
That's how Voss got to the top 5, 18 games of qualifying. That's rounds 1, 2, and 3. Just snuck in the top 24. Then he climbed through the 24 match games into the number 1 position. And he now has a 14-pin lead through 2 frames.
What a jump for either of these competitors in the Budweiser Kingpin standings, because the usual 125 points for victory doubled today to 250.
Statement by Scott Devers: I bowl the pins, not the opponent. It's a pretty good strategy, so he's not worried about what Voss is doing. He's just worrying about his own game.
At the 88 True Value, which Brian won, Scott was third seeded and lost to Brian. That was in Peoria, Landmark Lanes, where we'll be in a few weeks.
Brian in that Pinole Valley loss to Monicelli in the early rounds, bowled a 265 to Monicelli's 277. So if Brian's got one coming, he could use it today. That was a tough loss.
The left-hander now, we have a 1-2 on the left lane.
Scott Devers has to be very careful with his tempo, and by that I mean his feet. If he gets a little quick to the foul line, his swing does not realign with his target. You saw from that low camera angle given to us by director Larry Cam that his swing was out of line and didn't quite come through towards the target. He pulled it high and luckily got away with an easy spare, the 2-4.
We're in our title match in the Budweiser Classic in Sunrise, Florida. 14-pin lead by tournament leader Brian Voss. Back again, and well, it's all right to have a pacifier, isn't it? One of the Voss's boss family members, because their relative, their friend, Brian Voss, will be married tomorrow at Boca Raton.
Voss up in the fourth frame, has a 14-pin lead, strike working, can extend to 24.
Winner of the 1988 PBA National Championship. He may have family members here and special friends, but he's liked everywhere he goes.
He's got to like this. He made a bad shot in the second frame here, then rips the rack in the fourth to take a 24-pin lead. And I traveled with Brian Voss through the state of Florida for about 19 days, about 3 years ago, Chris, and I just marveled at how well he can handle all lane conditions. As you see him playing the deep inside line here.
Again, directing traffic, but he couldn't get the 3 and 10 to go. The two-time All-Army champion spent 4 years in the Army following high school to get things organized, and he credits the Army with doing a lot for his success today.
Good for his experiences. He needs to get the ball over here by the 3-pin, let the ball deflect into the 10. A must type of split for top pros.
A tough one. So now only 10 pins separating the two. There's a final score. Georgetown over Seton Hall, 68-60.
The door is open for Scott Devers. If Voss had struck in the fifth frame, Devers would be 34 pins behind. Now he stands up there only 10 pins behind with 2 strikes. He can even the match.
And it's a 7-pin for Scott Devers, who defeated Richie Wolf by 1 pin, 244 to 243.
Devers, who knows that the strongest part of his game is spare making, can't let this 7-pin get away from him. Devers, who had almost $95,000 in winning in 1988, dropped to 55, which is not a bad year in '89, but mostly because he had a pulled groin muscle. He pulled some muscles when he was unloading some heavy objects from a truck, and it hampered him most of the winter time. He recovered some in the summer, had a pretty good fall, and now he looks like he's back in top form as he only trails by 11 pins in the championship match. Voss just contemplating what's in front of him. Don't worry about your opponent. 6th frame.
What a break for Scott Devers. He sits down, catches breath, and Brian Voss gets up.
The late, great Billy Waylow said, hit him thin and watch him spin. And here they did. The ball does the little damage. The head pin spins around, takes out both the 5 and 10 pins, and the match is on. Voss leads by 11, 6th frame.
We asked Brian earlier, with all your family here, do you feel any extra pressure?
Well, it's been kind of a thrill all week long, not only for me, for my fiance, but both sides of our family. And, you know, I was kind of the entertainment for everybody this week, and there was some pressure involved, and, you know, it was a great feeling to do well. It's kind of been a storybook story all week long, and I hope the epilogue has a happy ending.
With that break on the 7-pin, Brian Voss doubling and now leading by 21 pins, but remember, Devers now has the strike up shooting in the 7th.
Brian Voss lost his first 6 times when he was a tournament leader. He learned to become more aggressive and actually became a better bowler at the same time, and you saw it there in the 6th and 7th frames as he came back from that split with 2 aggressive shots to put the pressure on Devers.
kind of disbelief.
Well, as my good friend back in St. Louis, Al Nowicki, says, unconscious competence. Scott Devers threw the ball right in the nose, could have had a 4-6 split or a 7-10, just about ending the match. He ends up with a great break, gets a double, he stays right in the match, and he can cut the lead of Brian Voss's down to just 1 pin with a strike here in the 8th frame.
And of course it is Devers that defeated Richie Wolf by 1 pin, 244-243 in the semifinal game. Here's the shot. It's a right against a lefty. Ron Voss.
Show you what a great break that strike was that Devers had in the 7th frame. If he splits there, he would be trailing by 35. Instead, he's only trailing by 1 pin, a 34-pin flip-flop on 1 shot, and he's put the pressure back on Voss.
Now after a double, 8th frame. Three in a row, an 11-pin lead.
One reaction of Voss, aggressive shot, just rips the rack. See you later, 5-pin, increases his lead to 11. When he won New Orleans and Merritt Island last year, Chris, I went behind him. I says, why don't you leave these guys alone out here on the tour? They can't beat you when you bowl like that. He just had a little snicker on his face, and I said the same thing to him last night. You just cannot bowl any better than Brian Voss has bowled in this tournament so far. He needs 2 more strikes to win it.
And likes bowling in the Don Carter houses. He won in Louisiana last year. Now he's back here. He has tremendous credentials. His family, friends love it.
The strength, the discipline, and obviously the incentive. I'll tell you what, if Scott Devers can hang in there in this match, I'll give him credit. He has really had the pressure put on him by Brian Voss.
Look at that. Wham, bam. A lefty and a righty in the championship game. 31 to the winner, 16 to the runner-up. Won't be a loser in this match.
That's for sure.
The runner-up.
The scoreboard tells a story. Devers can go 235 with 3 more strikes. Voss still has a possible 246. Anybody can win. 1 frame left for the 1990 Budweiser Classic Championship. The old saying, what goes around comes around. Let's look at Scott Devers' match. He throws a Brooklyn strike to defeat Richard Wolf in the final shot of the semifinal match. Then he carries a nosedive in the 7th frame to hang in this match. At the most critical time, he leaves a solid 9 and opens the door for Voss. Pin count very important here. If he gets 9 pins or a strike, he'll force Brian Voss to mark in the 10th frame.
Lofted out onto the lanes. And it's a 214 for Scott Devers. Championship match. Now Voss.
Tournament leader has won 4 out of 5 weeks. The only loss was in Quaker State when Peterson defeated Janelle, as you said, the fiance Andrea Goff, knowing her husband needs just a mark. Her husband to be a little presumptuous, needs a mark to win.
Okay. Brian Voss has won his 9th title. We'll have that final score for you and listen to his family members. They love the fact that their guy, Voss, is Voss here in the Budweiser.